All right, welcome everyone. Um, Thank you for being here. And I wanted to introduce you. I wanted to do this recording or this gathering to introduce you to now a new friend, Laura, from Renew Your Alignment. And Laura does Galactic Akashic readings. And it's something that I've never heard of. As many of you know, I've done the galactic astrology, and I'm always been so fascinated by the stars, and just by learning about what Laura does. I mean, it really. I'm trying to think how, you know, it was meant to be. I was one day, on YouTube, and um, her video showed up, and I was just so fascinated by her energy, her frequency, her voice, and this is something that I had shared with her. Like, I feel her voice carries a very strong light code. And, anyways, I decided to do a reading with her, and it was truly fascinating, Laura. I mean, I honestly, like, I had no idea. I wasn't expecting anything. And that reading was just mind blowing. The things that you said to me, everything connected, everything resonated with my soul. Um, I remember that part about, the dragon, and I've always been so fascinated by dragons. And when you, I think when you started the reading and you said, "Oh wow, there's a little dragon here," and I just smiled, because I've always been very drawn to dragon. I was born in a dragon year in the Chinese astrology.
Oh, wow.
I actually have a white dragon in front of me, like a crystal white dragon. And the fact that you told me that, I was like, wow, she's onto something. And I was really fascinated by your reading, and I wanted to do this gathering so that I can introduce you to other people that still haven't been able to found your website or your amazing videos. You have so many wonderful videos. So without any further ado, I'm just gonna pass it on to you so that you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Zinnia. Like, honestly, I'm so pleased we're doing this because it's um like as you shared, your reading was amazing. Definitely a lot of things came up in it that was so fascinating for me. Um, I started doing the Galactic Akashic Records readings after I did a course with Debbie Solares. Um, she's an amazing Akashic Records reader, and she developed, this technique of how to access your galactic Akashic records and kind of have a look at past lifetimes, have a look at the more galactic side of your lifetimes as a soul. Um, and for me, it's been very life changing, like doing these readings for clients, because you really do get a wider sense of who we are as souls is
Mm.
more than what we have, perhaps known or understood before. Um, I would definitely say with the business, the thing that has kind of come up a lot more is I tend to attract angelic souls quite
Oh,
often, those with the
beautiful.
angelic placements and those who have had, amazing lifetimes in different star systems. But yeah, and that's kind of why I did the videos, because I wanted to kind of share more of that information.
And Laura, what drew you to Galactic Akashic Record? What was it that really, like, you know, what made you do the training with Debbie?
I think. when I started, I was doing more Reiki healings, past life, and then I just kept having dreams, and the dreams didn't make sense because the dreams were not here. Like they were not earthly kind of dreams, and I knew that they felt so real. They were more real than not. And for me, I knew there was something else kind of going on. I'd always been, fascinated by the stars myself and kind of, you know, I kind of stumbled on what Debbie was doing with the Galactic Akashic Records readings. And then I just thought, this makes sense to me because there is so much more, Debbie's videos are so kind of, on point. And she kind of shared, there was one particular video, I think, on Aldebaran, and she
Mm.
was talking about the doll universe. And that was one of the videos that just cemented for me, okay, I want to do her course because I kind of, everything she said resonated so heavily. I knew that I had, you know, the things I knew, I just thought, no, this makes more sense that there's a parallel aspect of me rather than, anything else that was kind of going on.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Yes, I've seen some of her videos, and yes, it's definitely her story just by
yeah,
itself. It's fascinating, right?
yeah,
And she used to be an atheist. She didn't believe in. I've
yeah,
known about Debbie for a while because ever
mm,
since I was drawn to, Julia Balatz and the Galactic Astrology.
yeah,
It all became like this bigger community, right? And like
mm,
everything that's connected to the galactic, right? Like I feel like we're
yeah,
all a big family, right? And then we're kind of waking up. I mean, this
mm,
is just how I feel. Like all of a sudden, like this veil has been lifted, and
100%.
right, and then even people that before didn't believe in any of this, even Reiki,
Yeah,
because as you, I started with Reiki too, and
yeah,
crystals, and but I've always knew that there's more to it.
yeah,
I mean, even when I was little, looking up to the stars, I was just so fascinated by the stars, and I just didn't believe that this earthly life was it. You know what I mean? Like there has to be more than this. Um,
yeah.
can you share with us maybe some examples or things that have really blown your mind when you do readings? Is there something that's very, um, like I know you mentioned angelic
Yeah.
beings that you've been connected to. Can you share with us a little bit more what have you found doing so many readings?
Yeah, I mean, my story, I smile as I say this because I remember specifically, probably about just over a year ago, about 18 months ago, I just kept getting like bits of information to do with, certain stars. And it fascinated me because again, my brain was like, there's a star missing. We keep talking about Aldebaran. I know that's connected to Archangel Angel Michael. I know about Antares. I know about Regulus, but I knew there was one missing, and I just couldn't put my finger on why I kind of knew that. And then, I actually watched a separate video of Debbie's, which she kind of talks about elementals. It's an amazing video that she's got on her website that, you pay for, you watch. Um, but she spoke about all four. And I was like, this is why. This is it. This is exactly what I knew. Like I knew there was four. And then, once I kind of watched that video, I got more information, more downloads was happening. And then, I was like, okay, so I don't know what I need to do with this information. And my guides and my higher self were like, just keep going. And then I started doing the Galactic Akashic Records readings. And the amount of angelic placement souls or who have had angelic lifetime clients that I have had, like it to me, it's a running joke in my head because I'm just like, okay, so this makes sense. And it's specifically because we're going into the end, and I say end times because it's the end of what we know. We're going into the end times. And with the end times, those with the angelic placements who have specific roles and duties to do with that are coming more and more online. You know, we're becoming more aware of who we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to be doing, and moving towards that step. Um, so, you know, those who are from Aldebaran will feel quite alone at this time because it's a lot of leadership roles. Those from Regulus are the healers. They're going to feel, you know, that call to be doing more healing, more helping the collective, you know, kind of move forward. And then, you know, the Antarians at the moment, I really feel for them because, you know, the war that's happening at the moment is in the land specifically that they're kind of responsible for, you know, that whole area over there.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. So each, you know, of the royal stars are quite responsible for certain stargates.
Mhm.
Um, Different starseeds are you know responsible for certain stargates. I
Mhm.
think we're going to see this more and more come up as you know the earth starts shifting, and more systems keep breaking down, is we're going to become more aware of our responsibilities, our gifts, our soul missions, because we didn't just come here to, you know, have a body and have a good time. We
Yeah,
came here to help raise, you know, the earth to where she's
certainly.
supposed to be.
Yeah, I feel that deep inside my heart, you know, and it's interesting because as you were talking about the royal stars, then I remember that's the first video I watched. That's how I
Okay.
found you.
Okay.
I'm like, that's it. Yeah, it was about the royal stars because, you know, well, we do learn, you know, in Julia's galactic astrology galactic that we do learn a little bit about the royal stars, you know, and but it's amazing, right? How the more we learn, right, the more we expand, then we have this recognition. Like this, these are
Yeah.
just information that we all
Yeah.
carry, but somehow they
Exactly.
need to be activated, right? And then maybe
Exactly.
there's one person that comes
Mhm.
in, you know, and then just the one word, one video that you watch, and then all of a sudden that you have, like you mentioned, this downloads of
Mhm.
information, you know, and then that's what happened to you with the
Yeah.
royal stars,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And like you said, there's a lot going on right now.
Mhm.
um, we feel, and I think this is the whole collective, we feel like everything is falling apart, maybe
Mhm.
even in our own personal lives, you know, because we
Yeah.
know that whatever it is that is not resonating or is not really aligning with who we truly are and what we're meant
Yeah.
to do here in this lifetime, it needs to go. But it
Yeah.
is very challenging. You know, it's not as easy
100%.
as we say it, right?
Yeah. 100%. You know,
Yeah.
that's definitely something that I see kind of coming up for a lot of clients that are coming through and doing these readings. It's like, oh my gosh, so much is going on. But the thing that I kind of have been noticing is being repeated is this is a time of refinement for many star seeds. It's the time for us all to and how do I say this diplomatically? Even though we're going through so much, we have to keep remembering to come back to ourselves. And that's what it keeps teaching us is that, you know, all the answers we have are actually within us. And we need to just keep coming back to ourselves because there will always be things going on outside and around us. But all of the things that we need is basically within us. Um,
It's true.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
And one thing that I think I was, yeah, I was mentioning to you before,
Mm,
I like right now I'm craving the need of community. You know,
yeah.
people that are aligned, you know, how can I say it? Like that are on the same wavelength, that
Yeah.
you don't even have to speak. They can
Yeah.
understand you, and I feel right now, like, at least personally, I feel a little bit scattered, and then
Yeah.
yeah, I just have this need, like, gosh, where are my people?
Yeah.
Where is my galactic family? Like, how can I connect with other people that, are on the same path, and,
Mm.
maybe we share the same mission, right? And how
Yeah.
can we help others too? Because I believe that, the more connected we are, then the more powerful that we are, the
Yeah.
stronger we are. And then, as we know, with everything that's been happening, throughout, the past years, maybe even throughout our whole life,
Mm.
it's been about separation. It's been
Yeah.
about, you being a specific, oh, you're different because of your, I don't know, culture, nationality, skin
Yeah.
color. Then they label you, like, all these labels, right, of
Yeah.
you, what you are meant to be, and in reality, none of that is
No.
us.
Yeah.
None of it.
Yeah.
None
Yeah.
of it. So it's like taking off. I mean, and it's just not one, you know, um, one dress or one shirt. It's like a lot. Taking
Mm.
layers, that are deeply ingrained in who supposedly we are, and
Yeah.
it's challenging. I mean, it takes time. It's not something that you do from one day to the other. But one thing that I wanted to ask you, that I was so fascinated by the way that you connected. So the way, and for the people that haven't had the opportunity, and please, check out Laura's website, Renew Your Alignment. Is that your
Yeah.
website name?
Yeah.
Okay. And then have an Akashic, Galactic Akashic record reading, because it was just truly amazing. But the way you tap into the cosmos, and then the way you connect with our guides, all of the guides from different planets, and I was truly amazing. I mean, the ones that, how was it something that just like started as you were doing this Akashic reading, or was it something that was always there with you? Because the way you describe them, it's just so, for me, I was just like, wow, like, how can she see them so clearly? I loved it. I loved it. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Yeah. From my understanding, everybody accesses the records a little bit differently, because it's really dependent on, the gifts that you've had in other lifetimes. It's depending on the more active gifts that you have when you came in and what you've developed. I know for myself, because of the lifetimes I've had before, and I think I've shared this. I was sharing this with another practitioner before. I had a lifetime as an oracle before, and I think that lifetime really, I mean, it definitely affected my ability when I first came here. I kind of shut off my gifts a lot because of the fear from that lifetime and what I experienced. Um, but for me, I think that's the main reason why I'm able to see certain things. Because even even when I shut them off, I would still have dreams, and I would wake up and think in my head, what is this? What was this? And then different parts of the dream would end up happening. I remember. I'll give you a little bit of a funny story. I was dating somebody, and I knew the person was lying to me. And I just was like, I couldn't at that time, I wasn't very spiritual, but I just knew without a shadow of a doubt the person had been lying to me. But I was starting to awaken, and I kind of asked my guides and was kind of like, I really want to know the truth, And I set that intention when I went to sleep, that can you show me exactly what is happening and why? Because I know that this person is lying to me. When I went to sleep and I woke up the next day, I actually had a dream. And in the dream, it showed me that even though they had told me this narrative of they weren't going to have their birthday party, they weren't going to do certain things, I saw in the dream they did. So I knew that they had, yeah. So I saw in the dream. And even though I knew it, I kept it to myself. And then literally 2 days later, I saw that they did, you
Hmm.
know? And that for me cemented without a shadow of a doubt. It didn't happen exactly what as I saw, because obviously, you never can see exactly. But I saw them, I saw their family, I saw it, and and then I saw the evidence later to see it. For me, that for me was the end. I kind of was like, from now on, I will never question, the things that I feel and I see anymore, because you've given me the answer that I needed. So that was the moment that I realized, okay, this is a thing, and I started being kinder to myself. I kind of started saying, okay, so I know this is something that I can do. Let's develop it. Let's work on it. Let's figure out how I can kind of feel more in control and comfortable with accessing this gift. So it's just been a process of practicing, asking to see certain things, and then testing myself as time has gone on. And then when I did the course, because I've been practicing and doing certain things, now when I access the field, I kind of just access it. I feel like I kind of just see everything and experience everything, and I just accept it. I don't question it. I don't, second guess it. I just accept that what they're showing me and what they're sharing with me is for the person who is, coming for the reading. And I just share it and that's it.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And I believe right now, especially now, right? Like we're being asked to be more um, connect with our own intuition, because how many times have we just listened to others or think that others know more than us? And
Exactly.
that I feel like that era of the guru, somebody telling you what to do or what to think and what to say, it's
Mm.
over.
Yeah.
And I'm happy,
Yeah.
because in reality we need to start connecting with ourselves, like you
Yeah.
mentioned at the very beginning, all the answers are within,
Yeah.
and it takes time,
Yeah.
because we have a lot of ingrained thought patterns or this blockages that are not really um, but I think, like we mentioned at the beginning, like the veil is just
Yes.
lifting. And then
Yes.
now it's like, even if you ask your higher self, like, show me what I'm meant to know right now, what I'm meant to see. Because at certain point, I've also learned to be okay with not knowing, or for things
Yeah.
not to happen, when I want them to happen, because
Yeah.
and this is ongoing, of course, but relinquish control, just trust,
Yeah.
and then just let things be the way they are. And, then eventually, then you'll figure out, like, why didn't pan out, or, why that relationship didn't work. Then
Yeah.
you see the reality. It's like, okay, now I understand. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you always knew the answers. You were just trying to, like, come up with
Yeah.
excuses
There you
not to
go.
believe that, right?
Yeah. 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 I think one of the my one of the sayings that I've heard and I love is, that thought process of sometimes, our guides were privy to conversations that we weren't in the rooms, when certain conversations were being had, and that's why we were removed from the room. Because, ultimately that's how I kind of see things now is just because I don't know all of what happened, as to why I couldn't go down that path. It's because they probably were very aware of what was going on in the background, and were kind of like, no, 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 you don't need to go down there because that is not aligned with who you are. And like as you said, being able to get to that space of, I just accept that that is, what is for me will come towards me as opposed to trying to push things or push yourself forward all the time. You don't need to because, believe it or not, we're amazing magnets to attract things that are aligned to us if we just believe in ourselves.
Yes, that's right. Laura, so for the people that are watching us right now, can you tell us a little bit about, like, do we all have lifetimes in other planets? Can you tell us a little bit? Because and I was so fascinated once again about the whole parallel lives,
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very hard because we're in a linear, right,
Hmm.
life, to understand what that means. What does that mean having, well, we all know past lives, or not everybody, but the people that believe in past lives. But, like, can you tell us a little bit about also the parallel life and what it means, and do we all have them from based on what you've seen on your readings?
I think it really depends on what we decide as a soul when we come here. I will say that I have met a couple of clients who haven't got parallel or multi-dimensional aspects, but it's it's really dependent on what they wanted. It's quite rare, that you don't have at least one active parallel aspect, um, but it does occasionally happen. Um, but I think it's very much about the soul's decision, and that's the beauty of it. We all have certain lessons we want to learn, certain things that we know, okay, if I go to this star system, like prime example, Andromeda. My gosh, the like for me, that's like the air elemental hub. All of the information and understanding that you can gain from having, lifetimes within the Andromeda star system is so different from the lifetimes that you could have, say, within the Orion system. The Orion system is a very different energy. It's a very different frequency. And obviously that did change, with the wars. But it's about us as a soul, what fascinates us. But what I do see is those who have had like that higher kind of aspects choose to have parallel lifetimes, sometimes in other galaxies, so that they continue that higher understanding, that higher perspective, so that they can bring it back to this galaxy, and to share it, because the things we know here is not what, other galaxies are doing, ultimately. It's such a different perspective.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, it really depends on what we want for our souls, really.
And can you briefly explain, just like for people that don't understand, what is a parallel life? Can you just like
Yeah.
briefly explain what it is?
Yeah, it's a lifetime that is actively happening at the same time as this one. Um, and for some of us, we have many parallel lifetimes. I'll give you an example. I know for some clients, they are here, but then they have a parallel aspect of themselves in, I don't know, let's say Vega. They might have an active lifetime of themselves in Vega or in Arcturus or, somewhere else. And sometimes the best way to indicate to you if that is happening for you is you'll have dreams. And then the dreams are very, very vivid. And you're thinking to yourself, this isn't even on Earth. Where am I? Where am I? You remember it. Um, and you're kind of a little bit freaked out because you're just like, okay, this feels so weird. The things that I've seen and some of the things that you remember when you do wake up. That's usually for me the bigger indication that you've got a parallel aspect going on.
Would you say that the soul somehow splits in various, like, well, not, like you said, obviously depending on what the soul chooses to experience, but would you
Mm.
say it's like part of, kind of like me saying part of my soul is in the Orion constellation, or part of my soul it's with the Arcturus? Would you say that, like, it's just me feeling
yeah,
like it's me, it's part of my essence, but I'm living a totally different
yeah,
life there, right?
yeah,
I look
yeah,
different, right? Like,
yeah,
I love that though. I find that amazing,
yeah,
right? That we, yeah, that
yeah.
we have that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I was explaining it to a client recently. It's when we think about the other like star systems and the higher frequency that they're at, if you think about like, I don't know, 9D and like, those higher frequencies, for us to come down to three, like that's a big soul, like when you think about it that way, it's like ninth density being to like squeeze themselves into this tiny little body. No, we need that, other aspects of ourselves to kind of go off, like to learn other things and, you know, kind of have those other experiences. So yeah, definitely, like you said, we kind of split off and we think, okay, so this aspect of myself will be, in this body as well. And I'll say this without going too far into it, but when you think about, yes, there's parallel, but then there's also, this timeline, and then there's multiple timelines. So that's another thing, that to think about. There's the version of us that would have split off and did something slightly different. That's why you hear everybody talk about, okay, the Earth is on a different timeline, or it's moved to another timeline, or actually the timeline that I remember is different. That's why we have things like the Mandela effect, you
Hmm.
know.
That's right. Would you, how about abilities that we have in those life? Are you able to tap into those gifts?
100%.
And oh my God, that's amazing.
100%. 100%.
I love that. You
Yeah.
know, one thing when you did my reading that I was so fascinated when you told me about the air element, I'm very drawn, I do yoga, and but I'm also very drawn to the Qigong and Tai Chi.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then there's something about the movement of the hands and and when you did my reading and then that came up and like no wonder I truly feel like I'm moving the air, I'm doing
You are.
something with my hands and
Yeah.
it's energetic, whatever it
Yeah.
is, but it makes me feel like I've done this before,
Yeah.
like it's in me,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. We're often attracted to things that feel familiar. 100% we're attracted to things that feel familiar because we know we've done it before. It's like, being attracted to Reiki, like as you said, that's because we know we've probably done energy healing on other star systems. As souls, we always gravitate to things that feel familiar, but don't quite know why. So with the Qigong, 100%, it's about as you said, the movement of energy and even the elements when we think about what elements are, what the air is, what water is, you know, having that kind of understanding and then applying it to the elements, as I shared with you already, it's definitely something we can do here. But as you said earlier about that whole separation thing that happens when we come here, that's not just about separating ourselves from each other. It's about separating yourself from yourself.
Mm.
So if we keep separated from ourselves, then we basically have no power. Yeah, because the power is basically, you know, given to the systems, the things that we're engaging with, the outside stuff. So that's why, wars happen. That's why, we have certain hierarchy systems.
And Laura, what do you think about, I'm sure you heard many people saying that they are other, like they're aliens, on this earth. Some are
Hmm.
good, but some are bad. And maybe even the bad ones are the ones that are creating all this war and doing like all this bad thing. What do you think about all of that?
I'm just smiling and laughing because I literally was talking to my guides about this, and then they showed me a video, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, this is exactly what I thought." So I definitely was watching a video, actually Darius J. Wright's video. He's amazing at those kind of concepts, and he was talking about the Earth originally had many galactic beings. You know, you had the Arcturians here, you had, you know, the Greys here, you had dragons here, you had obviously the gods within Egypt from Sirius. You
Right?
had so many
Or
different
Greece.
beings.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
there you go. The Grecian gods, you know,
Mm-hmm.
those were real. Like, you know,
I
just putting
believe
it out
that.
there.
Oh my
They were
God.
real.
Thank you for, yes,
100%. They
I
were.
truly believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what happened before the Earth came down to the lower density? Obviously, the Earth was at, you know, 5D. You know, it came down because of all of the things that they started doing. With that, there were angelics here. You know, that whole war within the heavens and that whole argument of, you know, the angelics wanting more, you know, and because the angelics wanted more, from my understanding, that created this huge war with, you know, the fallen angelics, and then the fallen angelics creating Nephilims. So that's basically what kind of played out was, you know, the fallen angelics were doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. And then obviously the other, you know, the others who agreed started obviously fighting with the ones who said, hold on a minute, this is not what we came here to
Right,
do. Like,
right.
what's going on? And then I was saying to my family, in particular, because I talk to them a lot about this. If we look at things like the Bible, and the Bible talks about, oh, you know, the fallen and what happened to the fallen angels and all of that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
they talk about obviously them either being bound to the earth, okay,
Mm,
or them, you know what happened to them, why, you know, what, where did they go, kind of go.
right.
And as time obviously has gone on, that's kind of been changed, erased. They kind of make the angels sound like they killed them but don't say they killed them. And let's be honest, if you're an an angelic, you're not going to kill something because that's not in accordance to God's law. You know, we don't do that because we understand that higher perspective as we all belong to that higher power. We all belong to source, to God, to Heavenly Father, whatever, you know, we believe. We belong to that higher power. So you cannot take that away, as well as energy does not die, you
Mm,
know? So what do they do? Of course, they bound them to the earth, you know? So that
mm,
means that all over this planet, there will be beings who were bound to the earth, you
mm.
know?
That makes sense. Yeah, I felt that when I went to Mount Shasta. I don't know if you ever heard of Mount
Mm,
Shasta, California. I
yeah.
felt that there's definitely a community that, you know, they are different. They're different. Obviously, they're not humans, but they they coexist with humans there, and there's just something magical about Mount Shasta that I haven't felt anywhere. Truly, in the United States. I mean, I'm sure in Europe there's just so many amazing places that you go in and you truly connect with that energy. You know, well, the Arturians. You know, I love all of that story about Arcturus, and you know.
Yeah.
um, and then Atlantis and Lemuria, you know,
Yes.
they
Yes.
were beings
Yeah.
from, right, from
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
galaxies,
Yeah.
right?
I say this all the time. Anything that is spoken about, even in myth, existed because you can't erase, you know, it's like I know people are quite, you know, unsure about Tartaria. For me, I'm one of the ones who will say it existed. You can't say it didn't exist because, you know, there are maps that exist that show from the 1700s that
What's
there
the
was a
name of that?
place,
Tauteria?
Tartaria,
Oh,
Tartaria, yeah. So it's almost above like kind of like China, above the that kind of Tibetan kind of
Oh, wow.
area, but it was Tartaria. It existed. They called it North Tartary, South Tartary, like they had different, names of this area. Um, and it's really interesting to me because, again, like Lemuria, people remember Lemuria, people remember Atlantis, people remember these places. So, people, and I'll put my hand up because I remember Tartaria. So it's another reason why I speak about it. You know, it
Yeah,
was different, and that's the thing that I think is so frustrating is
yeah,
we've been given certain narratives in order to separate us from who we've been, who we've, had many lifetimes here being, so that we're easier to kind of control because we're just feeding into, the matrix.
that's right. Yeah, that's right. And one thing that I always remember that you mentioned when I asked you, like, wow, how do we tap in and being able to, see our guides? And you mentioned we all have the ability. We all have the
100%.
gift. You can
100%.
see them, you can hear them, you can connect with them. You just have to trust,
Yeah,
and have faith that, yeah, they're there. And like, I love that you mentioned that we have so many, right? Like, so many guides, so
ridiculous amount.
many families,
Yeah.
from other star systems that are always there with us. And it's just, I don't know, it just makes me happy, just to know that we're never alone, right? We're
No.
never alone.
No.
Yeah.
Even when we think we are, we never are. And that's for a reason. Many of our guides know the mission, that we agree to come here to do. So they're here to share, to remind, to prompt, to be with us in our kind of darker times because, and I'll say this with love. We all made the decisions of the life lessons that we wanted to have in order to get to the level of where we needed to be. So you know, even with free will choice, things can kind of change and go wrong.
Hmm.
Because even those in our lifetime still have that, they have their free will choice to do the right or the wrong thing to us, you know. But before we came here, did have a snapshot of what our life was going to be like and how difficult it would be. Might not have had every single detail and every single nuance before we stepped through the door. Because let's be honest, if we did, do you think we were
No.
just like, yeah,
It's like, nope.
oh, no,
Next.
exactly, exactly. We might have had a broader a sense of, okay, we're going to experience really difficult times and it's going to be to do with your family and, a lot of upheaval. But the end result is it will teach you this lesson about yourself. It will teach you that lesson about yourselves, you know? And that's the thing, it's
Yeah,
hard, it's painful, but at the same time, it teaches us certain things, and puts us on certain pathways, or even introduces us to certain people who have the opportunity to help us as well.
that's right. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So, Laura, before we go, and I just want to say it's been an honor, having this conversation with you.
Same,
I
same.
truly feel connected, you know, um, with you. I just have this sense of like, maybe we've done this before, and I'm sure we have.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe we've done many things together.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But before we go, like, I would like for you to, tell viewers where to find you,
yeah,
your website, and then what you offer, so that
yeah.
they, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So the website is renewyouralignment.com. Um, and if you feel called to have a Galactic Akashic Records reading, where you kind of can explore your soul a little bit, or, have that more deeper information, if you've got certain questions about you as a soul, as your soul mission, your purpose, the Galactic Akashic Records reading is 100%, the right one. If you want to explore your soul or see it for yourself, the past life readings are amazing. That's a good way for you to kind of actually see for yourself the lifetimes you've had. Because as I was saying to you before, like just by connecting to that lifetime means that you unlock parts of yourself. Yeah.
Okay.
So those are the main ones that I will say, you know, anything else that calls to those who go on the website, then, you know, that's for you.
And I just want to say you also have a YouTube, which, by
Yeah.
the way, everybody needs to check it out because honestly, like your videos, I mean, even the visual, I'm just always in awe watching your videos. It's like, wow, that's just so beautiful. Not only is your voice, so, like, I believe that you carry the light codes with your voice, by the way you communicate, but it's just the visual of your videos are amazing. What is the name of your YouTube account?
It's the same as renew your alignment.
Your alignment, so they can
Yeah.
find you there. All
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you so much once again.
My
It's been
pleasure.
my pleasure as well. And thank you everyone for watching this. I hope we can connect again soon, which I'm sure we will. Bye bye for now.
Thanks.